Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm going to go over some more on this oiling for the Suzuki and the Yamaha. More so for the Suzuki. I don't think we need to cover much on the Yamaha. I've had the opportunity to visit with many people, and I tell you, there are a lot of sharp people out there, and I've learned some stuff that I didn't know, and that's a good thing because I'm always looking to learn more as I go along. But I was just so surprised how I knew this would be a kind of a touchy subject, and I tried to tell everybody that I wasn't going to cover the full oiling system or anything. My main concern was the main bearings. That was it. But I found that there were a lot of folks out there that wished I had covered a little bit more, and I did make an error in one thing that I said, and I don't know why I said it, because I'd already said that you don't do anything to that side case. But I'm going to go back through this just a little bit and try to explain it again. And I also want to tell you that there's a lot of information that goes into these, and I'm pretty much doing this off the cuff. So there are going to be some errors. I try to not have any, but there are going to be some. And what I do is, if I see them when I go through the process of putting the video up, the editing part, what I do is I correct the error in the description block. And that's what I did in this case. Once it's up, I can't really change anything that's in the video. I guess you can go back in and over-type stuff on the screen. I guess I'm going to have to learn how to do that because I can't do it. But that's what I do. So if you have questions about anything, feel free to ask in the comment section or whatever. But also take a peek at the description box just to see if I've found something and I've gone in and corrected it like I did in this case. But anyhow, I was just really surprised how sharp people are out there and how other people are wanting to know some of this stuff. And I really enjoyed visiting with everybody. I was very surprised. I knew it was going to be controversial, but I didn't know how well received it was going to be either. So let me get you overhead again, and we'll go through a little bit more. And again, I know I'm not going to cover everything, but I'm going to try to give you a little bit more data and show you what I messed up on. Okay, guys, the Suzuki is the main thing that I need to go over again. If I think of something on the Yamaha, I'll cover that again too. I've got a varmint in my case here. Okay. As I started out the other video, I started out talking about the side case, the clutch side case on the Suzuki TC125. And I talked about this having a plate over it, and this side oiling the main bearing through this little passage. The plate has got a hole in it right here, and that way it kind of limits the amount of oil that does go in there. But this bearing here runs in transmission oil. It comes up through here, through this passage, over that little hole in the plate and into the bearing here. So what I did when I was talking about drilling the passages, For some reason, it came out of my mouth to do both sides. And that is absolutely not true. Like I said, this case here is almost a non-player in this whole discussion because it takes care of itself. It lubricates itself from the clutch side oil. I talked about if you had to change the oil seal, you have to split the case. But if you was to drill this hole in here, you would create more problems than you would solve. Number one, you'd probably end up with fuel mixture in your oil. So it would dilute that. It could also cause a vacuum leak or a pressure leak, however you want to check these, whether you're doing vacuum or pressure testing of the combustion chamber. So I just wanted to clarify that. That was the main thing. I did put that in the description box of the other video. But again, I will say that this side is absolutely a non-player in this at all, this discussion. This one takes care of itself by oil in the clutch transmission area. So again, we just move that one out of the way. And then what I did mean to say is that you have to drill the mag side. And you know, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that it would be a load off my mind if I did it. And if I was converting one to premix, I would do that. I would remove the spinner and the shield from the bearing. And once you do that, you've got, like I said before, you've got this spacer. You'll want to replace the space of this slinger in a shim the size of this one, only the thickness of this, because it's part of your the built-in play that you have this way. And another thing, I had 2 or 3 people contact me and say, you know, I wish you'd covered the oiling of the connecting rod a little bit more. So that's what I'll do. And I'll give you a little bit more information if you're replacing one, what you may have to do. As the oil is being forced in through the port right here and coming out here on between the seal and the bearing, the oil is being forced through the bearing this way. The shield area is the one that's your outlet, if you want to call it that. This is the inlet side. So it's being forced through here. It's coming out here. And it's going, this here, remember, this is going to be pressed up to this shim that's here, this spacer. And this shield is actually going to go just barely inside the lip on this slinger. Now, here comes the part that I didn't talk about. As the oil is in here and the engine is running, it's slinging this oil out here into this groove. And as it comes around, it's going in this hole. Then it goes into the connecting rod area through a cross-drilled hole. You notice this side is blind. Okay, I've got one here that, this is one I replaced. This is a Suzuki. You've got the hole here, and you've got the cross-drilled hole right here. So oil is being forced into here. It's not under a lot of pressure, but as the crankcase or crankshaft spins, centrifugal force is going to throw it up out of this hole. So this is getting oil only. This is straight oil that's coming into here. But in the same time, it's being diluted by premix. I'm not talking about the premix that you mix, but what the machine is mixing for you when the oil comes in this port. It comes in this port, comes up this little trail, and then into the hole on the cylinder. Then, I'm not sure you'll be able to see this. I'm going to try to get a little more light in here. There is a little brass pipe sticking up right here. I've got my flashlight in the way. Let me get that out of the way. All right, let me see if I can get more direct light here. I don't think that's going to work. Sorry, guys. Okay, let's see if we can see this now. There's a pipe right here, kind of a brass colored one. Okay, that's where the oil is coming in. It's being, it's coming out of that pipe, and as the mixed or the fuel comes out of the carburetor, it's pre-mixing it right here. It's pre-mixing it, just so you don't have to do it. That means that you can go to the filling station and put plain gas in your rig and plain oil in your oil tank, and you don't have to sit there and mix it up at the filling station. Okay, here's again is a shot of the, let me see if I can get you a little closer maybe. Maybe I'm going to have to bring it to you here. All right. Okay, again, it's right here. That's where it enters into the intake manifold from this little trail right here. And this is where the oil injection line goes. Okay. But, like I said, when this is in here, it is getting premix also into the rod. It's being diluted, but you're getting a fresh shot inside the pin, and it's being slung out by centrifugal force out into the bearing. So evidently Suzuki has taken, they took all this into account when they designed the system so that you don't have too much oil. But there again, as I said in the other video, I don't think there's a better oiling system in these vintage bikes than what was done by Suzuki. This was the best thing going at the time. Now, what happens if you need to replace your connecting rod? It's you can still get the rod from Suzuki, and I believe you can get the bearing, but you can't get the pin anymore. So, what I usually do is I buy the long. These are made in Japan. And this is what I've been using, and you get the connecting rod, the bearing, and the pin, and you do not get shims, thrust washers that go on the side. So, this being said, if you're going to order the long connecting rod, you're going to need the thrust washers. These are available from Suzuki, so be sure to pick them up. They're $3 a piece or something like that. So just to let you know, so you don't have to wait and order them again and wait another week or so to get them like I have to. Okay, now the problem with this is that the new connecting rod has got a hole all the way through it. I think you can see that. Okay. Now, it's not a big player. It's just that you're defeating the blind hole where the oil is being forced up through the pin here. It's going to defeat that part of the oiling system. But that being said, I put a lot of these together, and I hate to say this, but it's kind of like, you know, people that think you don't need to remove the slinger and the shield. They get by with it. But Suzuki designed this thing to run also with the premix. But that's all this is going to get now, because you've defeated that. The oil's going in this side and just dribbling out the other side. It's still mixing with the fuel. It's still being part of the fuel charge, but it's not the direct oil that it once was. So after a visit with one gentleman, we were talking about maybe plugging one end of this and cross drilling that hole. That's a very good thing to do if you want to try to keep the original operation of the oil, of the oil system. So that would mean drilling this, I don't know, probably a 16th or a 32nd hole or something right there in the middle, and then plugging the other end. And that could be done a lot of ways. You know, back when I was working in the motorcycle shop, we were looking at ways to go faster, and I remember that we plugged these holes with cork. You epoxied them in, all these holes. That takes away from some of the drag. You know, you just plug them with the cork, and it kind of helps like a windage tray in a car, if that makes any sense to people. But anyhow, that's something to consider too. If you want to maintain the integrity of the system the way it was, and you can't get an original Suzuki pin or one that has the closed end on it, then that is a thought. You can either maybe put a little plug of I don't know, some kind of metal in there and TIG weld one end up, or you could put some epoxy and some cork or something like that in there. Like with the cork, that was one thing I remember us talking about at the time, that if it comes out, it's not going to hurt anything. Now, if you TIG weld something in there, it's not going to come out, so you don't really have to worry about that. But I think you'd want to be real careful about doing it and limit your heat. I don't think these are hardened material at all. Let's see, I'll try it on this one. Yeah, no, it's not. It's got a little hardness to it, but not much. You can see the file does take some off of it, but it is hard. I don't know how good you could drill that. Yeah, that's pretty hard. It's making a mark on it, but it's skating off of it. It would be a tough drill. I will try one time, and I'll take this one and try to drill it and see what I find out. Now, the one other thing I wanted to go over here. I talked about this briefly, and I went out to the shed, and I've got this, this is a TS-125 engine, and it's still assembled, so I could show you what I was talking about with the gap here, where fuel could get down in there. And some can get down through here too. I'm not real sure what that thickness is. It's not very much. But right here on the side, this one actually has a little more clearance on the magneto side. And that's tight right there. But it still has more clearance. I'm holding this over on this side, and I'm getting about 40 thousandths right there on this one. Now on the other side, it's narrower, and I'm getting 16. Okay, so you've got about 60 thousandths total here for the oil, or for the fuel to get down in there. But remember, if you don't remove this, and you don't remove the shield, it's going to have a lot of trouble getting there, especially with all this spinning. You know, the fluid is going to take the path of least resistance, and that's going to be in and out. But again, you will be getting your premix into your rod here. That's the premix. What I'm talking about is when the machine is mixing it itself. But you can see how tight, it's kind of hard to hold up there, how tight it is between here and here. A lot more room here, about twice the room. And you do have a little bit of room in here like this on both of these, and of course down the middle. But that doesn't do your main bearing any good. The main bearing needs this oil over here, and you don't have to worry about this side. It's taken care of with the oiling, or the oil in the crankcase. Let me show you that plate. So here's the plate that goes over the top of that bearing, and it's got that trail was over here, but it's actually behind the clutch, and then there's a little hole right here where it can come out and then go. It just makes a complete circle in there. Anyhow, I just really wanted to clarify my boo-boo that I made. I don't know why I said that. I had already said that you didn't have to worry about this side because it takes care of itself with the transmission oil. But I did say it, and I don't want anybody to think that they need to drill this side, because you'll cause more trouble, more problems than you'll help. So if you're going to drill it, only drill the magneto side, and it doesn't have to be a very big hole. It just needs to be big enough, and probably chamfer it too around it, so it's kind of shaped like a funnel, so that the oil can very easily get down in there. So I think I've probably at this point beat this thing to death, but I really enjoyed talking to everybody. Everybody was very nice and polite. You know, a lot of these kind of issues like this, people get a little stressed out, and they can chew you out or tell you you're a dummy or whatever real easy with a computer keyboard. And none of that happened, and there was a lot of constructive talk going on, discussion, and I really appreciate everything that everybody wrote in, and for the most part everybody was very positive about it. Like I said, I appreciate all the discussion that everybody had, and it was all upbeat. Everybody was you know, giving me their opinion and this, that, and the other, and you know, I appreciate that. It's real easy in this time and age when people are not face to face with you to really cut people down or say bad things, and I'm not into that. That's not my thing. And you know, none of that happened here, but it could have. And you know, we don't need that. We've got enough of that kind of attitude, I suppose, in Washington, D.C. and a lot of other places around the country and the world. And we don't need to do it on our forums or on our YouTube. So I really appreciate everybody getting a hold of me and having a good discussion about this. And I hope that I've cleared up this. And again, if you think I said something that I shouldn't have or called it the wrong way, please drop me a line. You can go to my About page on YouTube, and my email address is right there. Just click on it, and I think it says for business inquiries. You can click on it there. You can shoot me a private email, or you can leave it in the comments. Either way, I see them, I answer them. So I want to really thank people for having the attitude that they did and being adults about everything. And like I said, I thought I'd cleared it up when I said that you don't need to do anything to that case, it takes care of itself. But then for whatever reason, I said, you got to drill both holes, and that was wrong. So thanks a lot, everybody. Like I say, I probably beat this to death, but I've got some other stuff coming up, and I want to get into that next, but I wanted to clear this up. So thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.